story is happening earlier in the day and this Wednesday. Also, another important story that happened was the very important cabinet meeting where His Excellency Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli announced that the government has a clear plan to avoid the trade deficit through measures that the state is keen on, stressing the directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi that they are not to create any dollar gap, indicating that the new budget that is being prepared is for social protection and citizen support measures. Madbouli indicated that by the end of this year, subsidies for the wheat will reach £95 billion. The price of bread will remain intact. The Prime Minister added that the directives of the President regarding the start of the Welcome Ramadan exhibit is a measure taken by the state to control and to reduce the prices. Madbouli confirmed that the state's tax policy is directed towards supporting investment, adding in a press conference held at the cabinet headquarters that he had directed the Ministers of Agriculture, Supply and Irrigation to support the strategic commodities for products related to edible oils. The Prime Minister said that in light of the President's directives to support the farmer, an additional supply incentive of £250 was approved, bringing it to £1,250 for the price of wheat. Well, those were the current stories of the day, the top stories of the day, and now to our very important and interesting file as well. As I told you earlier, that tonight we'll be also talking tourism. It's always great to hear from the life experience from a traveler's eye, and we're really delighted, as always, to have with us Ms. Senida Kehl, who is a global educational expert. And Ms. Kehl had a beautiful experience in Luxor. And she was so keen to tell us more about this lovely experience here on Nile TV International. She's been to Queen Nefertari's tomb, and she thinks that this is considered to be one of the best things that has ever happened to her in her life, as she has written on her Facebook page. Senida, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, and it's such a pleasure to talk about such a dear subject, such an important thing for the Egyptian economy. So I'm very honored that you've chosen me out of the millions of tourists that come here all the time to visit, to share from my experience.
Definitely. It's also great to hear from you, Senida, because you're working as a coach also for expats concerning education. So we have a link also between education and tourism. And as we all know that it's always great also to let our kids learn more about our ancient Egyptian history, our civilization.
Absolutely,
so, we'll take your views definitely about that.
Excuse me. So I have personally visited over 54 countries, and I have lived in some of them, and Egypt is obviously one of them, where I've been for like 5 years. And you were right, when I finally managed to visit Nefertari's tomb, that was absolutely amazing. I don't even have words to describe it, because it felt so rich in history, such a far away history, but yet it felt so present, and it was just overwhelming to live it. And like I said, it was the first time I've been to this tomb. I've been to Luxor a few times, but this is the first time that I went to her tomb, and the colors were just so well preserved, and the whole history to just come to life, and the guides explaining so well what was happening on the walls. So you understand more than just see figures, and you understand about politics of the time, religion of the time, all kinds of chemistry, for example, how they were producing colors, their diet, history, like where they were going and what they were bringing from other countries, and animals that existed in that time, and even just the history of how they were producing tombs and building all these amazing monuments that we have the fortune to visit these days. So it's an overwhelming experience. It's absolutely amazing. And if possible, I just recommend it to everybody.
Yes, a beautiful embellished tomb, Queen Nefertari's tomb, is definitely, as we can see here, and you can remember with us here through Nile TV International, this beautiful tomb, as you have recommended, Schneider, that it will be visited by tourists worldwide. What really attracted your attention as you've mentioned these embellishments and this beautiful drawings that we are seeing on the wall? You can see it here as well. Maybe this brings those lovely memories. But what really stunned you, what really made you feel that like it's an experience like no other?
For me, was the richness of the place. It's not just a place where you see some drawings. With a good guide, obviously, that explains to you what is written, you understand so much about the lifestyle, a very interesting lifestyle that existed so many years ago. We were so happy to find out about, for example, the way they dressed. The use of animal skins for different ranks in the society at that time, for example. The fact that they were wearing amazing flip-flops. Yeah. Everybody's wearing flip-flops today, yeah, but not the jewelry of the time, right?
Yes.
All kinds of how they managed to produce all those colors that and how they managed to preserve them. I mean, not them, but they produced them in such a way from such materials that they managed to resist the time, right?
Yes, yes,
for
exactly.
us to live as if we were just there. Of course, there's a beautiful love story in Queen Nefertari's life. Her husband has had a few other wives and lots of children, but their story has resisted over time, over other relationships. So there's a whole meaning to her life. Yeah. I also have to say that I had to educate myself a little bit in terms of the difference between Queen Nefertari, then Nefertiti, mm-hmm, and then Cleopatra. Yeah. Because I think also the words, the names being a little bit, especially between the first two, mm-hmm, a little bit close together. Mm-hmm. I thought maybe at one point that they kind of represented the same person, that they obviously not. So it's been a great discovery to see the difference in their times, how they affected, if at all, with their presence in, mm-hmm, history. Yeah. Some of them more than others, but and also how they managed to transcend the distance, the many thousands of years, and to still be an example of beauty, leadership in maybe, yes, not Queen Nefertari, but especially Cleopatra, right?
Yeah. And Queen Hatshepsut.
Exactly, mm-hmm, exactly. And just to see how that transcended over time in history, and how important it is for us to not only always think about the future, which is amazing and exciting, but to look back and learn from stuff that's already happened. So.
Yes, definitely. Well, we had more than one important news here concerning the sun listing Egypt among the best destinations in winter. So Egypt is highlighted as one of the top warmest tourist destinations to visit in winter for this year 2023. Let's watch this report, and we will be back with Schneider to know more about her experience from a traveler's eye.
The British newspaper The Sun highlighted the top warmest tourist destinations to visit in the winter of 2023, ranking Egypt amongst the best of them all. The newspaper stated in its report that with temperatures dropping and Christmas celebrations ending, spending January in the UK could be dreary. So it presented warm destinations around the world, such as Egypt, as one of the best holiday destinations in January. The British newspaper noted that the average temperature in Egypt is 19 degrees Celsius, adding that it is a popular destination for the British throughout the year, and a wonderful place to go to enjoy some winter sun. The newspaper, The Sun, explained that flights are scheduled to take 4 hours and 40 minutes, making it one of the shorter destinations on the list and a preferred destination for people who want to reduce their carbon footprint or their flight time for a holiday close to the country. It's worth mentioning that on New Year's Eve, the British newspaper, the Daily Mail, also shed light on Cairo's celebrations of the New Year 2023 and published a video clip from a celebration held along the Nile River. It stated, "Cairo welcomed the new year with a massive fireworks display held around the River Nile." The Daily Mail also published a video clip showing fireworks around the Cairo Tower, showing boats sailing in the River Nile all night long, as well as the moment fireworks were set off around the Cairo Tower. Noteworthy, the website of the famous British newspaper, the Daily Mail, published a press report highlighting the advantages of travelling to Egypt for UK tourists, mentioning the benefits of spending a longer than usual vacation in Egypt, calling on the British to escape the cold weather in the UK during winter and spend the entire time in Egypt. The report stated that the British tourists can enjoy a warm, long vacation in the Egyptian resorts for a period of up to a month, as the Egyptian government is working to encourage and facilitate a one-month stay in a wide variety of hotel establishments nationwide.
Well, the ancient cities of Luxor and Aswan may be prime winter destinations, definitely, for the warm temperatures. There is also a beautiful experience concerning the hot air balloons. Schneider tried one. I heard that you tried one this time.
I have, for the first time, yes.
For the first time?
Yes.
And how was that?
Yeah. Well, it's very peaceful. It's a unique experience. And I think the fact that everything happens in the morning gives you this special light that only happens probably in Luxor and with the Nile, and the sun rising in the morning. It's the most beautiful and empowering experience. I am also a believer, so it was just one of those moments when you're like, thank God for creating such a beautiful world, basically. It's peaceful. A hot air balloon, it's peaceful. You just hear the mechanics making it, fly above all these monuments. They explain to you where you are, although because we had already visited all those places, it was quite easy to see ourselves where we were. And it was just nice to fly a little bit over some of the village where people live, and I just absolutely loved it. The colors, the light, you just come from there somehow refreshed. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, it's beautiful. It looks so calming, and also
it is calm.
It is.
There's not a noise. It happens very early in the morning. We woke up at 4 o'clock for it, and I think we flew at around 5:30 to see the sunrise. So it's very, very peaceful. People are still sleeping in the village. Animals are still kind of not awake, and it's just peaceful, and you just contemplate history, I guess. That's what I did.
Yes, well, we have lots of treasures here in Egypt, and our great ancestors, the pharaohs, never stopped surprising us from one excavation to the other, and more stories of success. And I guess that world-renowned archaeologist Dr. Zahi Hawass had unraveled great secrets about our kings and queens, searching for more news and digging to register history and unravel more secrets about our great ancestors. Let's watch.
Where we gaze in wonder, he sees a celestial stairway to the afterlife. When we step into the underworld, buried beneath the sands of time, he enters a time machine that transports his vivid imagination on a journey to a chamber of secrets. Eminent archaeologist Dr. Zahi Hawass has devoted his life to unlocking this enigmatic world and bringing the past alive. Where once the pharaohs built monuments to immortality, he is building for the future, mentoring a new generation in his homeland. His mission, to transform the dusty image of antiquity. His dream, to inspire the world through conservation. In a land that once dreamt of eternity, Zahi's enduring legacy is his wider vision.
We are a country that have a very interesting past, and Zahi Hawass represents all that is wonderful in the past of Egypt.
He has made ancient Egypt accessible to many, many more people who would never ever have access to it.
Well, Zahi Hawass is the best really to represent Egypt.
Women can multitask. He's one of the only men I've met who can multitask, which I think is, says something positive about his X chromosome and his mother's strength.
He's very informative, and he knows what he's talking about.
He's on TV everywhere, and he really comes across as very welcoming and inviting people to come here and learn about the history.
He has brought the pyramids, pharaohs, queens, and treasures to people all over the world. Dr. Hawass has walked through the tombs of kings and made discoveries that changed the global perception of Egyptian history.
They came and they dug this shaft because they know that this shaft will hide the tombs of the pharaohs for a long time.
His undying devotion to conserving Egypt's monuments keeps him working harder, tunneling faster, and digging deeper than...
Well, here in Egypt, 2022 has been a very important year, also marking the centenary of the discovery of King Tut's tomb. And King Tut, or the boy king, still dazzles the whole world. Senida, we have lots of kings and queens. However, King Tut has a special place, not only in Egyptians' hearts, but also in tourists' hearts around the globe.
Yes, maybe because of the time it was discovered, maybe because of all the amazing richness and jewelry and gold and everything that was discovered in his tomb, maybe because of his fascinating history of being a child, basically, and dying maybe so young, and something about him. For the first time, this time when I went to Luxor, I actually went to see his mummy. Before I had seen other mummies that are in Cairo, but not his mummy. And he was very small. That's what I do. I mean, you see a mummy, you're thinking, you're trying to imagine this person, so many years ago. And but I think the most impressive when it comes to King Tut is basically the museum here in Cairo, where you see all the things, all the photos. Yes.
And gem is going to be like,
impressive gems.
Another world.
Exactly, like jewelry that, it's priceless, right? I have to say something very important that exists here in Cairo, and I would recommend to everyone who has children to do, is the Kids Museum in Heliopolis, where kids learn about all this. For example, they see the video of the discovery of King Tut. There are holograms. There are things that they can play with. They learn the map of Egypt, where all the pyramids are. They learn the flora and fauna in all these places. And there is also a big place with sand where kids kind of dig in the sand and then they find treasures and stuff like that. That's amazing. Great. And there are all these important Egyptian archaeology.
Beautiful way of learning.
Amazing for children. So I fully recommend this in Heliopolis. It's a hands-on experience.
That's great. Well, actually, King Tut is very special, and the discovery of King Tutankhamun's tomb is considered to be the most celebrated archaeological discovery in the world. We are really honored here on RTV International to follow King Tut footsteps, and we did shoot more than one documentary celebrating King Tut's life. Definitely King Tut is in a class of his own. Short break.
He is a celebrity. He is portrayed all around the world, a symbol of royalty. His name is here, there, and everywhere.
I'm King Tut.
And even 3,000 years after his death, he is still all over social media. But one question comes to mind. Why so famous? He was the boy who became king. The king who died as a boy. At the age of 9, he inherited an entire kingdom like no other. And despite his short reign, his legacy lived on through his 5,000 majestic artifacts. His name is King Tut, and just 100 years ago, we met him for the very first time. Today, we are celebrating him as the most iconic archaeological discovery of the century. This is 100 years of Tutankhamun, the king behind the golden mask.
Yes, the king behind the golden mask, the king of kings, King Tut. Schneider, concerning education and a link with tourism, we were talking about the importance of making also our kids learn more about history. The experience that you were talking about is simply very interesting because it's hands-on, and the kids themselves would like experience for themselves how to get in contact with history.
Yeah, there is this museum in Heliopolis, which I completely, I recommend not only for people who live here, but basically tourists who come to Cairo. They visit the pyramids and other monuments, but they can just take the kids to the museum where they will learn much more because they play. I remember there are these screens where they learn how the, what kind of medicine the
herbs.
In times of herbs, yes. In the times of pharaohs, they were using. So, and the kids need to choose that. They are being shown exactly how a mummy is being was being exactly how a body was mummified, and it's just beautiful. And I would say, I mean, if I, you know, in my humble opinion, if I could dare to recommend anything, because we've talked in so many other programs about the future of education, I would put Egypt in the metaverse. That's what I would do. I think more and more virtual reality is taking place around the world. We could have kids from Australia who is far away and may be difficult to visit, but we could have them pay in the metaverse to actually visit all these monuments for themselves. We could use the metaverse for the kids when they learn volume and heights to measure the pyramids, right? Something that you can't measure on foot, but you could definitely do that in a virtual reality. You learn, obviously, coding is very important these days. Where they go, the hieroglyphs are just there for the kids to learn their first coding language, which they can later even use when they go to Luxor. I think it's very important that when the children do go to Luxor, they have already studied a little bit about the history. And especially what my child really likes is to have the alphabet in front of him and to try to learn, to try to read off the walls whatever it's saying. And whenever he succeeds to read just the names or days or something, he's absolutely, he thinks it's like an amazing new language. It's an accomplishment, exactly. So, so I would also, because of the pride of Egypt, and because this is just something that everybody around the world studies at one point in their life. I don't know if it is, but I will make it compulsory in all international schools. I think Egyptology should be part of should be a discipline that everybody needs to know about. Not only obviously foreigners, but also locals, because education also always starts from the locals, developing their knowledge and pride of what this used to be and how this can be translated into today's society as well.
Yes, so that's excellent, you know, and you know, it's very important to keep track and keep pace with what is happening throughout the world. Also, artificial intelligence is going to play a big role.
Yes, I believe that they can be, Egyptian kids can learn to be guides in the metaverse. This is already a job that will be happening very soon. We've spoken about this in other programs, and there are so many people who have studied Egyptology at university, and they do work as guides these days in all these historical places around Egypt. But I think that this is something that children should pick up, and with a bit of investment, I think Egypt could be in the metaverse, and people could just basically go pay for it to visit in the metaverse.
Yes.
And I think it would be an amazing promotion for the country. This country has everything, yeah? We have religious sites, we have historical sites, we have amazing nature, we have desert, which has its charm, we have oasis, and I keep on saying we have, as you can see, I'm very integrated. The corals at the Red Sea, the reefs, the diving spots. Some of the beaches are as white as anywhere else in the world where people go for paradise islands, and yeah, and hidden gems like catacombs and wadis, and it's just a wealth of places to see and visit.
Yes, and the Ministry of Antiquities actually has exerted great efforts in order to take care and renovate also a number of museums in the different governorates of Egypt and Upper Egypt, not only in Cairo. We're anticipating, of course, the inauguration of GEM.
Absolutely,
that is going to be smashing headlines all over the world. As countrymen, your countrymen saw the air balloons and saw those amazing photos that we were following on Facebook. What were the impressions? What did they tell you? And how about their anticipation of GEM's inauguration?
So this year, maybe because of my pictures, because I don't post that much, but because of, I have a lot of guests, basically. So everybody wants to come and do the same thing. The pictures were beautiful, and I've only, as you can imagine, this is for me, so it's just my phone taking those photos. So if I could do that with my phone, then everybody wants to experience that. Egypt has been on the map for a long time. And as the video says, it's just kind of in the center of the map, from where it's kind of accessible from everywhere. And I think we just need to ensure that people understand that this is a safe country, they can come, no problem. I think the security is so amazing. When tourists come, they are trying to accompany them everywhere to give them a sense of, you know, like, we're here, don't worry,
comfort.
Just enjoy your trips, everything is under control. And I think that's beautiful. And shame about COVID, because as the industry was starting to increase, you know, COVID struck, and then obviously transportation was difficult and like that. But Egypt will always have a great future in this area, no doubt.
Definitely. Well, a final question, Ms. Kehl, and since we are talking also education, and couldn't be here while we cannot talk about what's trendy about coaching and education, and if we link it with tourism, how can education really help?
I really believe that the VR, the virtual reality, is trending. I am myself.
That's the future.
It is. It is. I am investing a lot of money, not only in like institutional development of my organization, but personal development. I want to be on top of what's happening and be professional in this area. And I think that the future will bring tourism much closer than it is now, because we will not depend on visas, on transportation. So we will make it more accessible.
We will transcend barriers.
Exactly. It will make it more accessible. That doesn't mean that we won't make money. Just because people don't travel here, it doesn't mean that money won't come in. Money will still come in, only in a different way. But tourism is there to stay, and I think Egypt has a great place on the map.
Thank you so much, Ms. Senida Kehl, global educational expert. And tonight we didn't talk only on education, but we talked through a traveler's eye experience, Senida's experience in Luxor, in Nefertari's tomb, and celebrating the centennial of King Tut. Thank you so much, Senida, for coming to Nile TV.
A great topic. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And I thank you, dear viewers, for joining us. That was Wednesday Debate Live with Taghreed Hussein. Many thanks for watching.